Hey, it's Buddy Lee. If you're familiar with my channel for Marvel Contest of Champions, this video is going to be very different than the content I used to make, because today I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite meals utilizing leftover pulled pork, which is pulled pork mac and cheese. I'll break down what I'm doing as we go, but I'll also have a recipe list and instructions in the video description below. We're going to start with a little bit of oil in our pan, and we're going to soften our veggies, which will be 1 white onion and 3 jalapenos diced. Once the onions and jalapenos start to soften up and become a little bit translucent, we're going to add in 3 cloves of garlic and cook that until it's fragrant. I'll push the veggies to the side until later, and now I'm going to toast up some panko breading that we will sprinkle on the top at the end of this. First, we'll melt about a tablespoon of butter into the pan. You're going to want to coat the panko with the butter and then keep a close eye while moving it around until it turns nice and brown like this, then set it aside. Now we'll make our roux, which will be the base for our cheese sauce. So I'm melting 4 tablespoons of butter, and then I'll start adding little by little 4 tablespoons by weight of flour, which is about 30 grams. So you see I'm just adding a bit at a time and incorporating into the butter until we're all out of flour and we have a smooth consistency. Now I have 2 cups of whole milk that you're going to want to have at room temp, and we're going to again add a little bit at a time and mix that all in. Next up, we're going with 1 cup heavy cream, which we will repeat the process. At this point, we're ready for some seasonings, and you can go with some garlic powder, smoked paprika, salt, and pepper, or you can do what I like to do and use the same pork rub that you use for your pulled pork, which has all that and then a little bit more. I don't put salt in my rub because I like to salt the meat separately for a nice dry brine, so I'll add some salt after the rub. I mix in all the seasonings and let that simmer on a low temp, and we're ready to start adding in our cheese a little bit at a time and let it all melt in. I've grated 1 pound of cheddar cheese, half a pound of pepper jack, and will also be melting in slowly half a pound of cream cheese. I'm going to save for the end around 20% of both the pepper jack and cheddar cheese to top at the end before we put the whole thing in the smoker to finish. Also, a little tip, the cream cheese can take a little while to melt into everything else, so the smaller pieces you add at a time, the faster it will melt in. Now I'll boil the pasta while I continue to stir the cheese, and I like to use this Barilla pasta, which has a few curls in it that I think works really well for mac and cheese. I set the onion, jalapeno, and garlic to the side earlier, and now it's time to add them into the cheese and stir. Now the pasta is done and strained, and we're about ready to assemble this pulled pork mac and cheese. This is going into my smoker, so I'm going to use my large cast iron as we dump our cheese and add our pasta. Then we'll mix it all around to get a nice coat of cheese on all the noodles. We're about to introduce the pulled pork, and I always vacuum seal and freeze a few 1-pound bags of pulled pork whenever I make it, and then I can take it out and heat it in my sous vide whenever me and my family want to make this. I added a good amount there, and I'll mix that in, and we're going to save some to go on the top as well. Time to sprinkle that cheddar and pepper jack that we saved earlier, and then the finishing touch before it hits the smoker is the toasted panko breading. Here's what it looks like all assembled, and now let's go set the smoker to 275, and we're going to let that go for about 1 hour. Here's what we have after 1 hour, and it looks great. I do apologize, I didn't get any glamour shots and the bite at the end. I think I was too hungry, but it was delicious, and if anyone gives this recipe a try, please let me know how it went. Thanks, until next time.